In 3, 2, 1.
Virginia Governor Ralph Northam moonwalks his way to immortality. President Trump heads to CBS, and we recap a very boring Super Bowl. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. Alrighty, we do have a lot to get to today. Ralph Northam, the Virginia governor, still in trouble. He's had himself a very bad couple of weeks. What's weird in the Democratic Party is saying that you want to kill like fully formed infants just before they exit the birth canal. Totally cool. 35-year-old racist Facebook or yearbook photo. Very bad. Resign. Go away. Hang yourself. That's our politics right now. We'll get to all of that in just 1 second. First, let's talk about what you're going to get your loved one for Valentine's Day. Most of us have started racking our brains about what Valentine's Day gift is truly going to make her day special. Well, don't get the flowers from the local grocery store. They are going to wilt in 1 second flat. Instead, go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are a no-brainer. And right now, when you order early, you get the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99 or double it to the 36-stem Enchanted Roses for $20 more. It's a great offer from 1-800-Flowers. Again, that's an 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99 or double the roses for $20 more. Listen, I've been using 1-800-Flowers for years. Literally every time I go out of town on one of my college trips, I will send my wife a bouquet of flowers to let her know that I am thinking of her. I'm just that kind of guy. And you can be that kind of human too. If you use 1-800-Flowers, they are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness and her amazement. The 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99 or double to 36 roses for $20 more. It's an amazing offer that does expire on Wednesdays. You're going to want to make sure you go take advantage of it right now. Pick your delivery date. Let 1-800-Flowers handle the rest. It's 1-800-Flowers.com/Shapiro for the special deal. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com/Shapiro for the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99 or double the roses for $20 more. 1-800-Flowers.com/Shapiro. Okay, while everybody was watching an awful, boring, terrible Super Bowl yesterday, the only saving grace of which was that the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, won his 6th Super Bowl. While everybody was watching that, Ralph Northam was having an emergency meeting with a bunch of black members of his administration, and I guess that he's going to try and live this one out. So to recap, you may remember Governor Ralph Northam from such things as kill that fully formed baby in the middle of dilation? Why, sure. Right, that was one of his starring efforts last week. You also may remember him from such wonderful things as, here's a photo of me 35 years ago, either in blackface or a KKK outfit. Now, you know your governorship is in trouble when the question is, which one are you? The one in blackface or the one in the KKK outfit? That's when you start thinking, well, I've got a bit of a problem here. Now, in a second, I want to talk about why our standards in politics are just ridiculous. And we really should consider whether or not we are willing to finish people's careers for bad taste mistakes that today look horribly racist, homophobic, bigoted from like 3 decades ago. Whether that is the standard of destroying somebody's career, which means that legitimately we should only elect newborns because those are people who have not sinned in the past, at least to this point. I mean, at least if we're not going to kill them, according to some Democrats. We'll get to that in a second. But first, let's bring you up to date on what is going on with Ralph Northam, who is fighting for his political life and doing so with a scalpel and also a blunderbuss. So the weekend started with him holding a press conference where he said he apologized for his past actions. He apologized for the racist video. Then things got real weird. So we start with him and his apology.
Virginians, earlier today, I released a statement apologizing for behavior in my past that falls far short of the standard you set for me when you elected me to be your governor. I believe you deserve to hear directly from me. That photo and the racist and offensive attitudes it represents does not reflect that person I am today or the way that I have conducted myself as a soldier, a doctor, and a public servant. I am deeply sorry.
Okay, now if that had been the extent of his statement, if he had said, listen, 35 years ago, people did really stupid stuff that now we look on and we are horrified by. And I look back at that and I'm horrified by it too, and it never should have happened. And I had honestly forgotten about it because it's 35 years ago, but now that somebody's brought it to my attention, really a terrible thing to have done. I'm really sorry about that, and I hope that you'll look at my totality of my record and see that this is not who I am, right? That would, I think, be an appropriate apology, and frankly, I think that at that point, people should probably let it go, honestly. But that's not what happened. Then Ralph Northam decided, you know what? Time for a second press conference. Now, second press conferences are not like second breakfast from The Hobbit. They from J.R.R. Tolkien. Second press conferences are much, much worse than the first press conference is. Almost always. It's hard to think of a situation where a second press conference has actually solidified things and made it better. So here it was Ralph Northam doing a press conference, and he decided that while he had apologized for his past actions in that statement you heard 1 second ago, now he was going to not apologize for that. He was going to apologize for a different time he dressed as a black person. Apparently, he said, it's not me in that photo from my yearbook page standing there dressed as a black person or as a KKK member. My favorite statement from the weekend is that it was reported that Northam wanted to hire facial recognition experts to show that it wasn't his face in that photo. How do you get a facial recognition expert to show that it's not you underneath a KKK hood? Can the facial recognition experts tell what's going on under, like, I thought the purpose of having the white sheet over your head if you're a KKK member is so that people can't recognize your face. In any case, Ralph Northam said he wanted to do that apparently. And then it got even better. So he said, that wasn't me. That picture was not me. The one from my yearbook page, right above my name, which legitimately is what, it was in his yearbook page from medical school. Then he said, no, that wasn't me. But there was another party that I went to where I dressed up as Michael Jackson. Now, first things first, let me suggest that if you dress up as random person in blackface to make fun of black people, I don't think it's the same thing as you dressing up as Michael Jackson in 1985 and putting on black makeup to do so. I just don't think it's the exact same thing. I think it's still not great, but I'm not going to pretend that I think that it's mocking in the same way that dressing up as random black person in 1910 is, right? Context does matter in a lot of this stuff. With that said, again, you're in trouble when you have to distinguish for the press. Were you the guy in blackface or the guy in the KKK hood? And then you have to distinguish from that, or was I the guy who took shoe polish, as he's about to explain, shoe polish, and make up your face to look like Michael Jackson circa 1985. So here he was explaining, wasn't me in that yearbook photo, but if there's another photo of me dressed up as Michael Jackson looking like I dressed like a black guy, maybe that's me.
In the hours since I made my statement yesterday, I reflected with my family and classmates from the time and affirmed my conclusion that I am not the person in that photo. That same year, I did participate in a dance contest in San Antonio, in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I look back now and regret that I did not understand the harmful legacy of an action like that.
Okay, but then it got even more ridiculous. So a reporter asked him, Mr. Governor, can you still moonwalk? Because he said that he was in a dance contest. And Northam, who's obviously one of the most intelligent people on the block. And honestly, one of the most disappointing things about becoming an adult is realizing all the adults are stupid. Adam Carolla makes this point all the time, that when you're a kid, you look at all the adults and you say, that person has a nice house. That person has a nice car. That person has clothes and a TV and they can stay up till whatever time they want. They can eat whatever they want. They must be super smart. And then as you grow up, you realize that all the kids who are sitting next to you in class eating their boogers are the adults with whom you're also an adult. Well, it's the same thing when you look at folks like Ralph Northam. Honestly, like this guy is the governor of Virginia and he's just an idiot. He's just an idiot. And I know people, well, he's a doctor. That means he can't be stupid. Why is it that everybody who says doctors can't be stupid also thinks their own doctor's an idiot and won't pay any attention to what they say? Anyway, Ralph Northam is asked to moonwalk and it's spectacular. He looks around for space to moonwalk. He does. He looks around the stage for do I have space to moonwalk here? And then his wife gives him a look like, Ralph, are you insane? Are you insane? Like you're in the middle of a scandal about dressing in blackface and you're about to moonwalk your way out of office. So let's watch it because it's really great. It's good stuff.
Competition in San Antonio was a dance competition?
Yes.
And it was that you danced the moonwalk?
That's right.
Are you still able to moonwalk?
He looks around for space to do it.
My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
My favorite part of that clip is the big grin when he's like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to moonwalk. And then he gets all disappointed because his wife is like, no. What, Ralph, what are you doing? Don't moonwalk. So maybe this does lend some credibility to the idea that the guy isn't a racist. He's just an idiot. It does not lend some credibility to the idea that he's just a moron? Maybe. I mean, my goodness. And then it turns out that back in the day, people called him a slur that was used for black people, I don't know, 50 years ago must have been common, maybe? I don't know. I don't know that much about this particular racial slur. But apparently, his nickname was the racist slur Coon Man, which is just lovely. So he's asked about that. He's like, I have no idea why people called me that. Maybe it's because I like to go raccoon hunting or something. Like, okay, all right. Go Ralph Northam.
How do you account for one of your nicknames that's listed in the VMI yearbook in 1981, Coon Man? What's your explanation for that?
My main nickname in high school and in college was Goose, because when my voice was changing, I would change an octave. There were two individuals, as best I can recollect, at VMI. They were a year ahead of me that called me Coon Man. I don't know their motives or intent. I know who they are, but that was the extent of that, and it ended up in the yearbook, and I regret that.
Yeah, so, okay, fine. All right, fine. Well, let's just point out a couple of things. Okay, number one, the weaponization of racism means that he doesn't get off here. Right? Well, we're going to talk in a second about what our general standards for politicians should be. But the way that racism now works is that it has been completely weaponized, meaning that if somebody does something anytime in the past or in the present that can be even construed as racist, they will be ruined politically. And Ralph Northam was a full-scale participant in this sort of nastiness. Right? He would take comments that were not actually racist, and then he would construe them as racist in order to slander his political opposition in the most vile fashion. And we'll show you that in just 1 second. First, let's talk about how you can make your business more efficient this year. Well, you can hire better people, but hiring can be really time-consuming. You post a job to several online job boards only to get tons of the wrong resumes. Then you have to sort through all of those resumes just to find a few people with the right skills and experience. Job sites that overwhelm you with the wrong resumes, those are not smart. That's why you should do the smart thing and go to ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter finds qualified candidates just for you. Its powerful matching technology actively scans thousands of resumes to identify people with the right skills, education, and experience, and then invites them to apply to your job. So you get qualified candidates fast. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is rated #1 by employers in the United States. This rating comes from hiring sites on Trustpilot with over 1,000 reviews. And right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at an exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. If you love the show, show your support for it and ZipRecruiter by going to ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire, DAILYWIRE. That's ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. ZipRecruiter is indeed the smartest way to hire. Why are you wasting time on all of these silly job sites that are never going to find you what you need? Instead, go to ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. We use it here at the Daily Wire for precisely the reasons I just suggested to you, and you can try it for free right now. ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. Okay, so as I say, Ralph Northam has been an active participant in the weaponization of the charge of racism against people. If you recall all the way back to the 2016 election, he ran an ad against his opponent, Ed Gillespie, that is one of the most vile ads I have legitimately ever seen in a campaign. It was an ad that showed minority children running away from a guy, a white racist in a truck with a Gillespie sticker on the back, as though Ed Gillespie was trying to run down small black children in his truck, and Gillespie supporters were the people at Charlottesville. It was really disgusting. Here's what that ad sounded like. There are these kids who are running away. You can see a Confederate flag on the back of a truck. This is a super PAC that ran it on behalf of Northam. Northam never denounced it. Here are all these minority kids, and they're just kind of running away from this truck with a Confederate flag on the back. And on the back of it, there's a Gillespie sticker. And now all these kids are running down the street. There's a Muslim kid running. All these kids are running down the street again. Here comes the truck trying to run down these children, trying to murder these children. They have a Gillespie sticker on the back of the truck and a "Don't Tread on Me" license plate on the front. Now remember, this is a super PAC that was associated with Northam, ran it on his behalf. And then parents wake up to comfort their children and remind them not to vote for Ed Gillespie, paid for by Latino Victory Fund. They say it was not authorized by any candidate, but you never saw Northam come out and condemn the ad. So Northam was an expert at this. He suggested that Ed Gillespie was a racist for having mentioned MS-13, the gang, that was active in Virginia in discussions about illegal immigration. So Gillespie participated full scale in this sort of stuff. That means that if you make any boo-boo at any time, the knives are going to come out for you, and come out they did. President Trump grabbed a pitchfork and just rammed it directly into Ralph Northam in the middle of the scandal. President Trump tweeted out, "Democrat Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia just stated, 'I believe that I am not either of the people in that photo.' This was 24 hours after apologizing for appearing in the picture and after making the most horrible statement on super late-term abortion. Unforgivable." Now, everybody on the left said, well, you made comments about Charlottesville and all the rest. That's why Trump is doing this, because what he is saying is, you guys all call me racist for stuff. Well, when the shoe's on the other foot, I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to pretend that Ralph Northam gets off easy. Now, here's something amazing. There was a Florida Secretary of State who'd been appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida to fill that position. And there was an old photo of him in blackface from a party in the 1980s, and he resigned within a day. This scandal broke on Friday. It is now Monday. Ralph Northam is still in office. Not only is he still in office, he's now doing something else. And I'm going to explain what that something else he's doing right now is. It's really kind of fascinating. So there is the person who would theoretically replace him, were he to step down, is the lieutenant governor. His name is Justin Fairfax. There's an article from a website called Big League Politics. Big League Politics is also the site that originally published the yearbook page of Ralph Northam. We are now learning that the yearbook page of Ralph Northam was probably released by somebody who was angry at him for his stance on abortion. Motives don't really matter in terms of who releases it. It's just how people react to the page. So Big League Politics released an article about an allegation regarding Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. And the allegation was an allegation that was put up on, I believe, Facebook by a woman who suggested that years ago, in 2004, there was an aide at the DNC who sexually assaulted her. and she said that this person, and she said that this person then went on to become a statewide candidate for office and eventually would be taking a big step up in politics. The actual statement posted by a woman named Adria Scharf, excuse me, by Vanessa Tyson is the name of the one. She wrote, "Imagine you were sexually assaulted during the DNC convention in Boston in 2004 by a campaign staffer. You spend the next 13 years trying to forget it ever happened, until one day you find out he's the Democratic candidate for statewide office in a state some 3,000 miles away, and he wins that election in November 2017. Then, by strange, horrible luck, it seems increasingly likely he'll get a very big promotion." So this allegation has been out for several months, and Big League Politics published the allegation. Now, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax has released a statement about it. The statement says, "Tonight, an online publication released a false and unsubstantiated allegation against Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. Lieutenant Governor Fairfax has an outstanding and well-earned reputation for treating people with dignity and respect. He has never assaulted anyone, ever, in any way, shape, or form. The person reported to be making this false allegation first approached the Washington Post, one of the nation's most prominent newspapers, more than a year ago, around the time of the Lieutenant Governor's historic inauguration. The Post carefully investigated the claim for several months. After being presented with facts consistent with the Lieutenant Governor's denial of the allegation, the absence of any evidence corroborating the allegation, and significant red flags and inconsistencies within the allegation, the Post made the considered decision not to publish the story." Okay, so this has led to accusations that the Washington Post spiked the story on behalf of Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. Now, I'll talk in 1 second about whether, in fact, that allegation is justified. Suffice it to say, there are grave suspicions today that Lieutenant Governor Fairfax is being victimized by leaks from Northam's office. That basically Northam, in an attempt to save himself, is saying, well, don't look at my black lieutenant governor and say that guy is ready to be governor because there's this still hanging out there. So if that's the case, if it is true that Ralph Northam's office is going after his lieutenant governor, that's playing some real heavy-handed hardball right there. I mean, that's some pretty low stuff. As to the allegation that the Washington Post spiked this, one thing that both the Northam story and the Fairfax story are revealing is the insane double standard that exists with regard to allegations. Insane double standard. So the Washington Post apparently had this information, they had the allegation, and they never published it. Why? Because it was uncorroborated, there was no supporting evidence, and there were significant red flags and inconsistencies within the allegation, according to Lieutenant Governor Fairfax's office. All of which seems like a pretty good reason not to publish a story. Except that I'm old enough to remember when the Washington Post and every other major media outlet in the country ran with allegations by Christine Blasey Ford that had significant red flags and inconsistencies, that had no corroborating evidence, and that were blatantly denied by Brett Kavanaugh. And it became the subject of a full-scale judicial hearing with Democrats slandering the man as a possible gang rapist. I remember when they ran with all of these allegations and Michael Avenatti was coming forward and suggesting that he had evidence that Brett Kavanaugh might, in fact, have participated in gang rape, and Kamala Harris, the new Democratic presidential candidate, was sitting up there implying the exact same thing. People ran with it. So it is worth noting that the same people in the media who say, oh yeah, well, we would never have run with an allegation like that, it was just not substantiated enough. Those same people were not willing to run with an allegation, against Brett Kavanaugh that was very close to similar. So that is pretty telling about the media. By the way, the media, I do have to make a side note here. I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl yesterday. If you did, I'm sorry for the hours that you wasted watching the Super Bowl. The Washington Post ran an ad in the middle of the Super Bowl. The same Washington Post that did not run the allegations against Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, which, again, I'm okay with if you actually had that standard consistently. They spent something like $5.25 million to run an ad in the middle of the Super Bowl talking about how democracy dies in darkness. How many reporter salaries could that have paid? I do love that the Washington Post, they're like, you know what we could do to really restore our reputation as a journalistic entity? What we could do is hire an actor to talk about how awesome we are, and we'll glam off of Tom Hanks's Q rating in order to pretend that people actually like our journalism. Here's a little bit of that Washington Post self-serving ad yesterday during the Super Bowl.
When we go off to war, when we exercise our rights, when we soar to our greatest heights, when we mourn and pray, when our neighbors are at risk, when our nation is threatened, there's someone to gather the facts, to bring you the story, no matter the cost. Because knowing empowers us. Knowing helps us decide. Knowing keeps us free.
Listen, I'm in favor of journalism, and it says Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. I'm all in favor of journalism, but the back-patting, self-congratulatory nature of the Washington Post, patting itself on the back for journalism, while at the same time having such blatant doubled standards in so much of their reporting, is pretty galling to a lot of Americans, and honestly, it ought to be galling to a lot of Americans. There's some other problems with that ad. I'm going to explain what those problems are with that ad in just 1 second. Then we'll get to the wide and very democratic reaction to the Northam allegations and the yearbook page and the whole deal. First, let's talk about how you can make your back feel better. So, as a person who works out a lot, I know, I'm ripped, man. I mean, no one's ever going to see it, but I'm just telling you. You're going to have to take my word for it. But that means that after I work out very often, my back aches. Okay, I need to work on my form, I know. But like a lot of people, when I have a backache, that means I need to do something about it, and that's why I have Teeter. The Teeter inversion table is just spectacular. It sounds weird, but hanging upside down is a great way to decompress the back and joints after a workout and boost recovery as well. It's called inversion therapy. It uses gravity and your own body weight to decompress the spine and release tension in your shoulders, neck, and joints. I mean, did you even see The Dark Knight Rises? That's exactly what Bruce Wayne does in order to heal his back, and you should do it too. The Teeter inversion table really is pretty awesome. Over 3 million people have put their trust in Teeter. They've been the best known name in inversion table since 1981. They're offering a great deal just for my listeners. By the way, Batman should have used the Teeter inversion table. He wouldn't have had to spend time like down in that hole, like being hung by a rope to fix his back or anything. He just would have been better, right? For a limited time, you can get the brand new 2019 Teeter Fit Spine inversion table model with bonus accessories and a free pair of gravity boots so you can invert at home or take the boots with you to the gym. Teeter inversion tables have thousands of reviews on Amazon with an average 4.6 star rating. And with this deal, you get $150 off when you go to teeter.com/Ben. That is teeter.com/Ben. It's free shipping. Free returns, a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose here. Go check it out right now. If you got back pain or you got neck pain, go check out teeter.com/Ben and get that new 2019 Teeter Fit Spine inversion table with the special deal. That's teeter.com/Ben. $150 off when you go to teeter.com/Ben. And again, free shipping, free return, 60-day money-back guarantee, so give it a try. You have nothing to lose. You'll feel better. Teeter.com/Ben. I know it's made me feel better, so go check that out right now. Okay, so this Washington Post ad, a couple of quick notes on the Washington Post ad that ran during the Super Bowl. Notice that when they say, when the nation is in grave danger, and then they show a picture of Oklahoma City. Now, I'm old enough to remember another event that put our nation in grave danger and led to us getting involved in two wars. That would have been 9/11, but I guess we're not allowed to show pictures of 9/11 on TV, lest it be offensive. Also, they say journalists who have died for their profession, and then they show Jamal Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi was an opinion writer for many outlets, including the Washington Post. He also happened to be closely aligned with the ideology of the Muslim Brotherhood. So while the Saudi government should obviously not have murdered Jamal Khashoggi, I'm not going to put him in the same category as I put other journalists who are murdered for their journalism. Also, I got to say, like the idea that journalists in the United States are wildly in danger all the time, that the Washington Post is sort of promoting here, is obviously not true. All of the people who are killed in that particular ad are people who are killed abroad in foreign countries. Also, I would note that the Washington Post, which sort of suggests that American journalism is constantly in danger. Like thousands of journalists have been arrested in Turkey, and journalists are routinely killed in Russia, in China, and this sort of stuff is pretty common. Let's stand with those people. I'm not sure the Washington Post necessarily measures up, except for their foreign correspondents who obviously do. Okay, so the Democratic reaction to the Ralph Northam thing has been kind of interesting. Basically, everybody who's in sort of day-to-day Democratic politics says, let Northam go. And everybody who's running for president says Northam should resign. That's the way this breaks down. So Terry McAuliffe, who's the former Virginia governor and deeply involved in Democratic Party politics, he says he has no indication that Northam has been a racist. And he says, maybe we should probably let this guy go.
I know that the Ralph Northam you know, in your words, is a good man. But has he also been a racist?
I have zero indication of that. As I say, family doctor, had military service, had been a state senator, ran for lieutenant governor. Ralph was always at my side. So I can't answer it, Jake. I'm telling you, I'm heartbroken.
Okay, so, I mean, the answer is, has he ever been a racist? Well, I mean, it depends. Do you think that that photo means that he is absolutely a racist? And then you see Howard Dean, who's also not running for president, former head of the DNC. He says Republicans have no morals at all. So he tries to turn it on Republicans that a Democratic governor was just caught with his hand in the blackface jar.
The Republicans, I mean, they have no morals at all. I mean, the Republicans are happy to ask Ralph Northam to resign. They have a much worse guy who's heading their party. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so he's saying, of course, because Trump is worse than Northam, that means that Trump should resign or Northam shouldn't resign. I'm confused. Democrats think Trump should resign, but Northam shouldn't resign. They're going to have to explain that one. Now, the Democrats who are running for president have universally called for him to step down. So Hillary Clinton, who may or may not run for president, she says that Northam should go. You got Kamala Harris, who says that Northam should go. You got Cory Booker, who says that Northam should go. You've got Julian Castro, who is running for president, but no one cares. And he says that Northam should resign as well.
I'm happy that at least he has apologized and that he recognizes that what he did was wrong. And I do think, of course, that there's the opportunity to understand and accept his apology. But I also believe that that's separate and apart from him continuing in a position of trust and authority, which is the governor's office. So I hope that he does resign.
Well, this kind of breakdown does demonstrate what the Democratic Party leadership thinks of their own base. So a lot of Democrats on a day-to-day level are going, listen, if our new standard is that anything bad you did in the past means that you're out of office, there will be no one left standing. And then there are the people who are running for office who are saying, well, I have to somehow go back to the base and I have to explain to them why Ralph Northam should stay, and I'm just not going to do that. It's kind of fascinating to see the divide, because here is the truth. The Democratic Party honchos are correct. If our standard is that stuff that you did 35 years ago that was construed as racist now, but was construed as maybe just irreverent or controversial then, is now the subject of you losing your career, there are going to be a lot of people out of jobs very, very quickly. Robert A. George is a member of the New York Daily News editorial board, black guy. And the reason I mention his race is because of the thread that we're about to read. I think it's worthwhile going through this thread that he put up on Twitter, because I think this is the most nuanced take on the Ralph Northam issue that I've heard. I think it's also the most accurate take on the Ralph Northam issue that I've heard. Here's what he says. He says, after much fun at Northam's expense, a serious thought. A few tweets have run along the lines of, even in the South 35 years ago, everyone knew that wearing a clown outfit or blackface was racist. Having been in college myself at the time, I started nodding. But then I pause. Everyone knew that this type of behavior is racist? That means Northam must have been racist. He admits in his Friday statement that what he did was racist. It means his partner in crime was racist. But there was a compiler/editor of the yearbook, right? That supposedly reasonable person accepted Northam's photo and let it go, right? Was there a faculty advisor? Did that person approve it too? My point here is that either everyone knew this was something really ugly and racist, or they were doing something that they bizarrely thought was funny and no one stopped to think, oh, it's funny, but really ugly and maybe we shouldn't do it. He says the 2020 hindsight we have now, that everyone knew that something you didn't do might not have been as strong, might not have been as strong back then. In other words, if you think now that everything bad, like now it's very easy to look at that photo and go, obvious racism, gross, get out of office. But is that how people thought of it back then? Time, context, it does matter. He says, to make it a bit clearer, a personal anecdote. I went to a small liberal arts college in Maryland below the Mason-Dixon line. Of the student body of 400, I was one of 5 or 6 blacks over 4+ years. In 1985, senior class leaders bounced around ideas for a fundraiser. They settled upon a slave auction. Seniors would be auctioned to odd jobs for the winning bidders. Yeah, already you're thinking, what the hell? In fairness, this was a school which studies Greek and Latin classics, so it's theoretically possible to do a Greek or Roman-style slave auction. Even so, I approached the planners and said, tread carefully. I didn't hear about it anymore, so I assumed it got dropped. Instead, I awoke to find posters declaring, welcome to 1865. It's a real live slave auction. What? I got upset. But here's the thing. There were quite a few other white friends, including other seniors, who were stunned. There was an African-American underclassman who I'd become friends with who came up to me and whatever the 1985 version of what the bleep was. I put together a strongly worded letter. No, seriously, it was an open letter to the student body. Got it co-signed with a couple dozen other people, infuriated, stuffed copies in mailboxes. A day or so later, the fundraiser was canceled. Yes, there were bruised feelings. My African-American pal and I had a tense discussion with the organizers. We cleared the air, and it should be noted I'm friendly with them to this day. I don't consider them racist then or now. It was an insensitive action, but an ultimately learning moment. In the days that followed, I felt out of sorts. Even though I had many friends who had my back and immediately supported me and whatever I wanted to do in response, I was still feeling alone, wondering if I did the right thing. Then something happened. The auditorium attendant, African-American, like the entire grounds crew, Jimmy, came up to me. I had chatted with him over the years as I had at a work-study job in the dining hall. He said to me, thank you for speaking up about that. These kids, they just don't know. It had quite the impact. These kids just don't know. In truth, I was a kid myself. I didn't know. Irritated as I was with the class leaders who ignored my cautionary heads up. In fact, this was bigger than me, bigger than them. Other eyes were watching. So beware the everyone knew such and such was racist in 1985 trope. Ralph Northam is a few years older than I am. He should have known better, but so should several other people involved in getting that photo into the yearbook. Hey kids, it wasn't a selfie. The definition of racism isn't as set in stone as we might like. The spectrum of racially insensitive or microaggression to out and out racism is, to use an in vogue phrase, fluid. Some get it right away. Others, they just don't know. Okay, this is, of course, exactly right. This is exactly right. Okay, in a second, I'm going to explain why it's exactly right and why a little bit of grace might go a long way in our politics, or we can keep destroying each other because it's convenient to do so. First, let's talk about your sleep quality. Okay, so if you're not sleeping all that well, you might think that it's because of the temperature in your room, or maybe it's because of the mattress upon which you are sleeping. Because your body is built like no other body, and yet you're sleeping on a mattress that was built just generically for random humans. Instead, you should go check out Helix Sleep. Helix Sleep has built a sleep quiz. It takes 2 minutes to complete. They use the answers to match your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress. Whether you're a side sleeper, a hot sleeper, whether you like a plush or a firm bed, with Helix, there's no more guessing and no more confusion. Just go to helixsleep.com/Ben, take their 2-minute sleep quiz. They will match you to a mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. For couples, Helix can even split the mattress down the middle, providing individual support needs and feel preferences for each side. They have a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. Right now, Helix is offering up to $125 off all mattress orders. Get up to $125 off at helixsleep.com/Ben. That's helixsleep.com/Ben for $125 off your mattress order. Again, helixsleep.com/Ben. My wife and I love our Helix Sleep mattress. We took that 2-minute sleep quiz. The mattress came in the mail. We unwrapped it. It inflated right in front of us. We popped it on the bed. Good to go. It's so comfortable. We got one for my sister for her wedding. Go check it out right now. helixsleep.com/Ben for $125 off your mattress order. Okay, I have a few more thoughts on the Ralph Northam controversy, and then I want to get to the latest on Jussie Smollett and my situation over at Grand Canyon University, which is getting all weird. But for all that, you're going to have to go subscribe over at Daily Wire. To get the rest of this show live, dailywire.com. To get 2 additional hours of me every day. We are slaving away for you people. We are in that hot kitchen, slaving over the stove, working our fingers to the bone, and all other form of metaphor for how hard we're working. Go check it out. For $9.99 a month, you can be part of our team. You can help us out. We always appreciate that. Also, we have a Daily Wire State of the Union backstage that is coming up, tomorrow night? So if the State of the Union is tomorrow night, that's when we're doing it. So we will be there guiding you through the process. You can ask questions in our mailbag. You can ask questions to me. You can ask questions to all the other folks over at the Daily Wire, like all sorts of goodies. Plus, for $99 a year, you get all that stuff and this, the Leftist Tears hot or cold tumbler. Check this out. Wow. Unreal. Incredible. Unbelievable. Stupendous. Tremendous. Unbelievable. Go check it out right now. Also, go subscribe over at YouTube or iTunes. We had a great Sunday special this week with Dave Ramsey. You didn't have access to it on Saturday. You could have had access if you had subscribed. More fool you. That would have been a good financial investment, don't you think? I think. You should have gone and checked it out. Or you can go subscribe over at YouTube or iTunes. When you do, leave us a review. We always appreciate it. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast and radio show in the nation.